Hello out there, all you wonderful people. This is Andre, the Game Idea Guy. Thank you once again for lending me your time and your ear, listening in to another Gamer Starts video. And this time I'm going to be talking about Streets of Rage 4 again, but I'm not going to do a full story overview because the way I'm thinking, like, that's not something I should do. But I was just thinking about some brief story elements that I think that they really should incorporate into the fourth Streets of Rage game, the official fourth Streets of Rage game. And some of these things I think would work really well if they tied back into Sega's fighting game series, Virtua Fighter, which Virtua Fighter ties into. There's a lot of stuff that Streets of Rage could be the focal point for, and they could tie Streets of Rage into other games that Sega has produced. It could tie it back into the Virtua Fighter series. It could tie it back into the Virtual Cop series. Could also tie it back into eSWAT, which, if anyone has been around for a long period of time and they know what eSWAT is, like you are a true fan like I am, because eSWAT was actually a pretty interesting game, but I'll get into all of that in a little bit. Firstly, that female character, the one that was fighting Axel at the end of the trailer, the one that had the snake, I want her. I don't want her to be the main boss in the game. I want her to be like the right hand of the main boss of the game. Someone who you will encounter constantly. Like, maybe not a whole lot. Like, maybe you'll run into her like 2 or 3 times before you get to the final area of the final stages of the game. Before you have the actual full-on fight with her. Like, but what I want, personally, for me, for the story, I want this character, like, she's highly skilled. Obviously, she's highly skilled. She's taking on Axel one-on-one. Like, but you'll see her constantly, like, she drops in, has a little skirmish with you, bounces out. Like, more or less, she's working distractions against you, so that your eyes are off of the main point of the main point of whatever her group is doing, whether it be the Syndicate or not. And an interesting thing I think would be is if Shiva is the new boss, and he's the one that trained her to fight, which would make everything come full circle, because nothing ever really happened to Shiva at the end of Streets of Rage 3, if we're going based on what I believe is the actual storyline, where they infiltrate the compound and defeat the Mr. X robot, because Mr. X himself, his body was like horribly fucked up after they got him in Streets of Rage 2. So, yeah, like, his brain was in a jar and he was controlling robots, but that brain was blown up in the facility. If that is the true storyline that they're going to go with, and I hope it is, honestly. I really hope that is the storyline that they're going with, because oh gosh, man. Those other 2 storylines, while they're interesting, I don't think they make a good point. So, for Shiva to be the one having taken over the Syndicate would be awesome, and for him to be lead, like, because he's a better final boss in my eyes than Mr. X would be anyhow. So, I would like to see that. And especially since you were seeing all the mooks from Streets of Rage 1, 2, and 3, because, like, the way, even if the art style is different, I recognize those character designs. Like, I mean, I've played enough Streets of Rage in my life to recognize them. So, that's the first few small tidbits I want to see in the game. Now, I do want to see this connected back to Virtua Fighter. Whether there be like cameos of characters like Sarah and Jackie Bryant, or like if they make a character playable like Vanessa Lewis, because she was a security guard, I believe, when she was first introduced. But it would be something to have her be like a member of the police force. And Adam, now being the new chief of police, she works under him as one of his lieutenants. And she ends up in the game as a playable character, hopefully sometime. Like, that would be cool for me. Like, 'cause I would think she's a Valet Tudo fighter. Like, and that's an interesting fighting style to try to put into a beat 'em up, and I think that would be something that could it would make her a very unique character. But more or less, if they're going to go the way I would hope that they're going to go, so Adam and Skate are back in the game, and Vanessa being one of Adam's lieutenants, she's one of the better fighters that is among his group, among his police force. So he brings her along to help him and Axel and Blaze. And Max is somehow brought back into it. I mean, it's not like they're not his friend and have his contact information, but Max is brought back into it. I don't know about Dr. Zan. Like, I would like to see him as a playable character, but something tells me he'd be better off working behind the scenes for the most part and maybe be unlocked as a playable character sometime later on. Like, but for the main story, I would think he'd be like their support. Like, keeping tabs on them and keeping up with information and stuff and following the syndicate, tracking their movements through cyberspace and stuff like that, and keeping a good eye and tracking on them. Now the police officers that were back up in Streets of Rage 1, I believe they're also the ones that are in eSWAP. Like the guy that you play with, the main guy that you play with in eSWAP, is the one that leans out the car and uses the backup weapons like the rocket launcher and the mortar gun. I think is what it is. So that's the connection to eSWAT, and that could be basically the I guess you'd say the more heavily armored version of their police force. And this is a stretch. I know this is a stretch. But a branching connection to Virtual Cop could be that the city that Streets of Rage happens in is actually Virtua City, which is where Virtual Cop takes place. Meaning that Adam would be the chief of police of the Virtua City Police Department, which would bring in those characters as a part of the roster. I can't remember their names right now because it's been so long. But I do remember that the female character from Virtual Cop 2 actually ended up in Fighters Megamix as a playable character. She played like a Fighting Vipers character because she had the armor. But still, that's how I'm. This is why these are story tidbits I think that they could work in, where they could interconnect everything, have everybody linked up. Because all these games could fit into the same universe. It doesn't have to be separate stuff. And there's a lot of stuff that could be possibly going on all at once. So I think this would be a good way. This game could be a good way to link a lot of Sega's franchises, old and new, and hopefully bring back other stuff and get more games made for them. Virtua Fighter is still going on strong. I think we're going on to Virtua Fighter 6 now. So Virtua Fighter is still going on, which is why I wanted to include Vanessa Lewis, because it just makes sense. To me, it makes sense for those stories to be interlinked, to have those characters be interlinked back and forth. And I would like to see that happens. To see that there's some sort of working and growth and having those characters together. I mean, it's up to Sega to do it. It's not my thing. I can't control it. But I think it would just make it more interesting. That way, these characters can float back and forth between games as well, and they can build popularity across different mediums. Anyhow, well, not different mediums, but different genres, because they'll be more recognizable if they're in more things than just one. Just like Final Fight and Street Fighter and Rival Schools are all interlaced. They're in the same universe. That's why I want for Streets of Rage, Virtual Cop. eSWAT could be just like you could say eSWAT is Virtual Cop because it's basically the same stuff. And though eSWAT was like a platform shooter, but that's a different story. And Streets of Rage, Virtual Fighter, Virtual Cop. Oh yeah, there we go, Virtual Cop. I was trying to figure out which one I was saying. But I want to see that to be the case. That's how a lot of it starts off. I mean, honestly, I would like to see. This might sound like it's a little out of the blue, but I would like to see that you have to rescue the other characters to unlock them if they're not all available right off the bat. Like, say, I'd say make it four characters playable, like from the beginning, and well, maybe not rescue everybody, but like rescue one or two people to unlock them as playable characters, and then other characters you just have different routes that you have to find them on, and then they'll become playable for you to use. And everybody has their own. If you do a single player, everybody has their own story that is interlinked, I guess. Like, but you get a different story for each individual character, and then you'll have like a set multiplayer story that they all follow. Which again, that'd be cool to me. I like that concept and idea. I'm trying to think because I don't really want to go into all of the characters that I want to see in this, because like there's a lot that from Sega's other franchises that I could think would actually work very well for this. But I'm trying to hold off on trying to throw everybody into one game and stuff like that. But I think I'll end this off here, and I'll do my other video after this. Thank you guys very much for listening. Keep your eyes and ears up for more stuff from me. And until the next time, please enjoy your games, and peace out.